Welcome to the Beau Show, the home of faith, family, and freedom. We believe in the American values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Vice President Kamala Harris conveniently left out the word life when she was reciting the Declaration of Independence recently, but that's not a surprise. For being a former prosecutor, she has word salad sometimes that just defies logic. And maybe she doesn't believe there is a right to life. Who knows? When it comes to the criminal justice system in this country, most focus has been on the criminal rather than the victim. Democrats believe that the private prison system is an institution of systemic racism, whereby the more non-white people you can arrest, the more this business can stay afloat. But lost in this conversation is the victim impact, meaning why are we so focused on the criminal's welfare and not the victim's? Because one heinous act can affect far more than just one person. It's a family, it's a network, it's a community, it's a city that will never be the same. Back when I was researching two heinous crimes in my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee, I wondered how it was possible that recidivist criminals were getting let out of prison early and going right back to the crimes that they had committed before. In other words, there was clearly no rehabilitation. I presumed that judges were giving light sentences, but as I dug deeper, I realized that really it comes down to the prosecutors, the district attorneys who bring the charges. The cops can arrest you for a crime, but it's up to the DA to bring the charges. So in order to properly understand why DAs are light on sentencing, you have to know the man that funds many of them. And his name is a familiar one, George Soros. Soros was born in Budapest in the 1930s as a Hungarian Jew, where he said he learned the art of survival. He took a forced identity to survive, but then he fled to England at age 17 when Hungary became a communist state. He started Soros Fund Management in 1970, and 1992 was a big year for him.
This came about when speculators put pressure on the pound, causing it to crash. Soros made about $1 billion by short-selling Britain's currency. The government lost about $5.5 billion, and the pound was forced out of the European exchange rate mechanism.
I did it in order to make a profit.
Sure.
And to expect market participants to be concerned about the social consequences of their action is putting the emphasis in the wrong place.
Why?
He says his impact has been overstated.
My power is greatly overestimated. I really did not break the Bank of England. It was the market that broke it. I was just leading the charge. I set up the Open Society Foundation in order to improve the democratic institutions under which we live.
His reputation as a ruthless financier cannot be overstated. You can see how he deliberately broke the Bank of England to make a profit. This idea of setting up an open society to improve democracies is but a mere shell for what he actually does. This is similar to Bill Gates, who started the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as a PR move when Microsoft was getting negative press over antitrust violations. And think about the words, open society. It means a land without borders, a globalist society. Soros has been behind many of the migrant population movements across the world. And his own native Hungary came out against him for these forced migrations. But it is important to understand Soros's basic philosophy, because deep down, he is an exploitative philosopher. He bases his theories on chaotic systems, not systems of equilibrium. Listen.
Without a doubt, chaos is a natural state of affairs of human beings. If I'm afraid of being mugged in New York City walking down the street, I will become very, very cautious. As I become cautious, I become a target. Therefore, I am inviting the very thing that I'm afraid of.
Soros believes that our reality is more dynamic and chaotic than what people believes. Their biased perception of reality will cause them to behave irrationally, creating an opportunity for him to exploit. Soros' insight puts him 10 steps ahead of everyone else on Wall Street.
So Soros is an opportunist, but does it under the guise of faux philanthropy. It's the idea of never letting a crisis go to waste. Last year, Breitbart News published a list of the Soros dozen big city district attorneys who got elected thanks to financial backing from Soros, on vows to bend the weight of justice in favor of accused criminal suspects over alleged victims and the general public. Take Soros-backed Los Angeles DA George Gascon as an example. Gascon helped criminal illegal aliens avoid deportation, announced that he would not be prosecuting a number of crimes. He eliminated bail and has refused to seek the death penalty for suspects accused of even the most heinous crimes. In the contentious area of Loudoun County, Virginia, Soros-backed attorney Beau announced a whole host of crimes that she will not prosecute, which include hit and run with property damage, evading police, reckless driving under 90 miles per hour, and trespassing. Other DAs that have Soros backing include Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, whom you may remember from the Jussie Smollett fiasco, Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner, Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg, Dallas County District Attorney John Creuzot, Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez, Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Pinzone, St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner, and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Soros has spent $40 million getting these DAs elected all over the country. $40 million. In interviews, Soros has claimed a sort of messianic fantasy, a mission to change the world, which he sees as saving it. But in doing so, he's changing it in his image, with his handprint. Soros, in understanding markets, speculation, and chaos, knows how to manage the chaos for his gain. Take the Loudoun County DA Beau, who said she won't prosecute smaller cases to focus on more serious ones. Well, it's a lie. She only brought 8% of domestic violence cases to trial. Due to the $40 million investment, Soros-backed DAs now represent 1/5 of Americans. Let's get specific on these DAs. Take a look at this chart by the Legal Enforcement Defense Fund. Joe Gonzalez in Bexar County, Texas, has seen homicides skyrocket 50%. Jose Garza in Travis County, Texas, has focused his efforts on arresting cops and ensuring minorities are not arrested. John Creuzot in Dallas County refused to prosecute theft under $750 since he attributes such theft to be out of necessity. Steve Descano in Fairfax County, Virginia, says no cash bail because of economic disparities. Larry Krasner in Philly has seen 1,000 murders in just 2 years, and in over 60% of fatal shootings, no one was arrested. Alvin Bragg in Manhattan downgraded crimes with weapons and stopped prosecuting the resistance of arrest and won't touch repeat shoplifters. Now you know why the once great city of New York is a criminal's utopia. Kim Foxx in Chicago refused to initially prosecute a caught-on-camera gang shootout in broad daylight because she said it was mutual combatants. Way to go, Kim. And another great DA, Kim Gardner in St. Louis, has seen the highest homicide rate in 50 years. That really makes the city of the Great Arch seem quite appealing, doesn't it? All of these DAs were funded by George Soros. Gardner also became a household name when she prosecuted the McCloskeys for defending their home from rioters. You can see how Soros DAs are pro-criminal and anti-citizen. Portland DA Mike Schmidt said he would not prosecute rioters in the summer of 2020, even though rioting is a felony. In California, Contra Costa County DA Diane Becton won't prosecute graffiti unless the graffiti offends her political sensibilities. After a couple allegedly painted over a Black Lives Matter mural, she filed 3 misdemeanor charges against them, including violation of civil rights, a hate crime charge, vandalism, and possession of tools to commit vandalism. The Soros philosophy is to decriminalize lesser crimes and focus on bigger crimes. But we've seen the opposite trend since 2020. Major crimes like homicide have gone up, where none of our streets are safe. What is highly ironic and highly counterintuitive about these policies is that by and large, the proportional number of deaths is happening to Black and Hispanic men. So if the idea is to not disproportionately prosecute minorities, why is it that in doing so, the number of those dying is disproportionately higher for Black and Hispanic men? This all comes from the nonsense logic of the defund the police movement. I mentioned earlier that Cleotha Abston, the Memphis criminal who has been charged with kidnapping and murdering jogger Eliza Fletcher in Memphis, was a guy who was let out early on a 20-year sentence for kidnapping someone else. If 20 years in the system isn't working, what is the logic of letting him out early? In addition, he had raped a girl, and the rape kit took so long to process that by the time it came back attached to Abston, the very day it was determined, he was killing Eliza Fletcher. Remember that Soros DAs now represent 1/5 of the country. That's a lot of citizens who are at severe risk because the DAs are giving lighter sentences or not prosecuting crimes at all. The New York Post's Matt Palumbo has written a book about Soros, calling him the most dangerous man in America. Listen.
It's the thing you say only because he spent close to $20 billion over his lifetime. And, they say all politics is local. Well, this proves that, because with that $40 million, I think we could probably identify more damage than the other almost $20 billion combined.
I agree.
We're seeing in every city, around the country.
It's true that all politics is local. See, we think of Soros as the man behind Obama, Hillary, and Biden. But that's the national scale stuff. Soros is operating at the local level. And with these prosecutors, he's doing a considerable amount of damage at the local level. The reason this is important is that if you can't actually flip a state legislature, which will cost millions and millions to buy those guys off, if you can control the prosecutors, then it doesn't matter what laws the legislature passes. You will then control how those laws are enforced. So the law then becomes rather irrelevant and has a much deeper impact. Media is not going to cover this, and they certainly won't pin any of this on Soros. Open society is Soros' way of controlling the world through access. He's able to be a mover and a shaker through his faux philanthropy. And bankrolling local DAs will help reshape society, thereby creating more chaos, which is exactly what he wants. He's a bona fide crisis instigator, just like he did with the Bank of England. And if Republicans are not investing in these local races, they can hang it up when it comes election time, and thus the battle for our cities. All of the sanctuary city policies of the left are also indirectly funded by Soros. He's truly the Wizard of Oz. He's the evil genius who understands how politics works, but he reshapes culture through his money and his chaos creation. $40 million is a lot of money. But the fact that it is spent at the local level says a lot about his strategy. Listen to how Joe Rogan describes him.
I had a conversation with the governor of Texas about him, with Greg Abbott, where he was explaining to me what George Soros does. And it's fucking terrifying that he donates money to a very progressive, very leftist, whether it's a DA or whatever politician, and then funds someone who's even further left than them to go against them. So it seems like he funds corrosion. It's like he wants these cities to fall apart. He wants crime to flourish. It's almost like he's an evil person in a Batman movie.
Pretty accurate description. This is the kind of thing that gets lefties really mad at Rogan and want him banned off of Spotify. You would think, why would Soros fund a lefty and then an even bigger lefty? Well, because the devil lies somewhere in between. He's betting on the loser and the winner.